Thanks to Reverend Rosella for asking me to speak today. She had suggested a musical service. I thought a talk would also be in order. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Put it up close.
Thank you. Yes, much better. Plus, it's more Barry White this way. That's the video camera. That's what I'm aiming for. I'll ignore these people. This is for all the people who just woke up thinking that it's still 9:30. There's no second service, so you missed it. Good morning, I'm Aaron English, and I'm a touring songwriter based in Seattle, moving to Utah, and then touring Europe for most of this year. So this is it, at least for a while. I literally stuck around in order to do this. I also am the founder of the charity called International Youth Music Project. We support music and arts programs for disadvantaged youth, so refugees and orphans, HIV/AIDS positive kids, primarily in East Africa. Thanks for having me today. This morning, just a couple hours ago actually, a trumpet arrived in Nairobi that was donated by Mr. Savage. And this was just the last time I was here, less than a month ago, when he handed it off. Thank you. The trumpet was hand-carried from here to Canada. Our board member, Jules Klassen, is here this morning. And she handed it off to somebody who then flew to Nairobi this morning, and it's now en route to one of the music programs at an orphanage in Uganda. 3 different people are hand-carrying it from the airport in Nairobi to this orphanage. There are 30 kids that just happen to be learning to play trumpet right now. So with only one trumpet and one mouthpiece between them, you can imagine they'll be happy to get another one. So this is putting me in mind of gratitude. Thank you, and thank you for making that happen. It's a small thing, but the small things add up. So today I'd like to talk about gratitude and about practicing gratitude as a means of living our lives fully. Finally, I'll end by leading us in a meditation on gratitude. So many of us spend most of the year thinking about what we want now and what we need, and once we get it, about what we want next, what we need next. It's not until Thanksgiving that we're reminded to think for a week, or for a day at least, about what we're grateful for and how to express that gratitude. But expressing thanks shouldn't just be a once-a-year tradition. It's possible to cultivate a gratitude mindset that will stick with you through the year. And I'm bringing it now, right now, this morning, because some would say we're living in difficult times. Some people would say that, stressful or uncertain times at least, in Rosella and Tony's life, for instance, or politically and economically, geopolitically. The UN, in fact, on Friday declared the worst humanitarian crisis since the founding of the UN in 1945. There are over 20 million people in 4 different countries that are in immediate danger of starvation. And that's not to say anything about whatever else is going on in the world. To sort of pile onto the headlines, the UN said, guess what? 20 million people, and this is an emergency. So the hits seem to keep on coming lately, if you're reading the news on a daily basis. Gratitude can help. I think gratitude can help during times of stress and panic, thinking of what we do have working in our favor, of all the hard times you've already overcome, and all the good you already have in your lives, the things the assets that you have. Gratitude can be reassuring. It can give us courage. It opens the heart, and it activates positive emotion centers in the brain. Regular practice of gratitude can change the way our brain neurons fire into more positive automatic patterns, which is one reason why I wanted to end with a meditation of gratitude. There was a research recently conducted by the University of California, Davis, that found that gratitude gives the person expressing it, not the person receiving it, but the person expressing it, the power to heal, to be energized, and to change lives. The study showed that gratitude literally impacted the physical and psychological aspects of that person's well-being, as well as the social, obviously, saying thank you and you're welcome. Positive psychology sees gratitude as one of the keys into turning negatives, or potential negatives, into potential positives, because it's all up here. According to their study, here are some benefits that come from adopting a gratitude mindset. Physical benefits, they found a stronger immune system, less inflammation bothered by aches and pains, lower blood pressure, sleeping longer and better, and feeling more rested upon awakening. The psychological benefits were higher levels of positive emotion, more alert, alive, awake, more joy and pleasure, lower levels of envy, anxiety, depression, increased optimism and happiness. And the social benefits, of course, more compassionate, generous, more forgiving, more outgoing, more helpful, feeling less lonely and isolated. And these are scientists, of course, putting on their scientist hats and thinking, okay, how can we break this down in a clinical way? And trying to come up with these benefits as clear physiological responses in the body. However, there are some challenges to cultivating gratitude. Being thankful may seem like a simple task, but there are roadblocks, such as a me-focused society that celebrates personal success and encourages materialism and overscheduling in the interest of serving that personal success. There are also the myths that gratitude expressed is somehow groveling, or that it makes you a pushover, or that it isn't possible in the midst of suffering, or appropriate even, to be grateful, to express gratitude. I mean, how can you be grateful in the midst of injustice or misfortune, or when horrified by some global tragedy? Seems inappropriate. The answer is that a gratitude mindset gets stronger with practice, and it gets stronger when it is shared, and it's like the rising tide that floats all boats. Gratitude is all about sharing. It's a social tool. We find a way to verbalize, to write a letter, to share through social media our gratitude. In a social media culture, in a me-obsessed culture, in the selfie generation, cultivating thankfulness in social media is probably my favorite possibility. You take a culture that is in many ways social in media only, not exclusively, but it isn't. Let me run a cup of sugar over to my neighbor now. Let me take a picture of my dinner and post it. But can you imagine cultivating thankfulness by using social media to turn that spotlight on others? To practice giving the gift of acknowledgement to others, to practice receiving what's coming in to you gratefully, and then sharing that, broadcasting that. Many of us are better givers than receivers. If you put your focus on your experience of receiving gratitude, you subvert so much of it. It's not, here's what I had for dinner, or I got this new job. It's all of a sudden, thank you, universe, for the wonderful food. Thank you for this new job, and thank for the people who helped me get there. And it becomes a social practice of reminding people of what we have and what we are blessed with. Here's something I do often. When you're given a compliment, you belittle yourself by saying, it was nothing, or not a problem, or by playing down your role. Gratitude becomes a hollow gesture, when in reality it can be a powerful spiritual virtue. If you notice your experience as a recipient and try to receive compliments or thanks with grace, then the law of giving and receiving places equal emphasis on both sides. So I'm not just talking about gratitude as something that we give, but also something that we receive. There's no, it was nothing. It's, you're welcome. So that the gratitude becomes a cycle. It feeds everyone involved in it. It becomes a dynamic and encourages others to both give and to receive graciously and authentically. So I'm going to talk you through a gratitude meditation. Just like meditation is a practice. For me, it's Tai Chi. We do meditations regularly in Unity churches on Sundays as part of the service after the talk. And this is an encouragement to cultivate gratitude as a meditation, as a practice. It's something that I'm going to walk you through as an opportunity to strengthen a gratitude muscle. And This is an opportunity to pay attention to how gratitude feels. When we look back at that study that UC Davis did, they placed an emphasis on physiological, physical, psychological, scientifically verifiable ways in which gratitude changed the body, changed the mind. Can we put it down on paper that it had this response? So we're going to be scientists with our own bodies right now, with our own minds. Pay attention to how gratitude feels. Let's try and be mindful of the sensations of gratitude, mindful of how it manifests as a physical sensation on a body or an emotional level. So please get comfortable. Close your eyes. Relax and take 2 or 3 deep breaths. And bring to mind someone in your life you are grateful for. It could be a loved one, a parent, a child, a partner, a friend, anyone. Or it could be a situation you're grateful for. But make sure you make it easy, not someone or something you should be grateful for, but rather the thought of them naturally makes you fill up with appreciation. Invite them into your heart. Try and get an image of them, see their face. If you can't, it's fine. Just feel their presence. And maybe you can hear their voice, or just notice what their presence feels like. Now take some time to recollect all the things you love and are grateful for about that person or situation. If it is a person, just tell them all the things you love and are grateful for about them, as though they were there with you. Now make sure you notice what that gratitude feels like. Notice the sensation of gratitude in your body. How does gratitude feel? Is it warm or cold, soft or solid, expanding or contracting? Is it fluid or solid, pulsing or prickling? Does it move? If so, in which direction? Does it have a sound? Where do you feel it in your body, in your chest, in your throat, or in your stomach? This simple attention to the sensation makes the difference between contemplating gratitude and thinking it's a good idea and meditating on gratitude. Pay attention to how it feels as a physical sensation. Okay, now do it again. Bring to mind another person or situation in your life you feel grateful for. Once again, see or feel that person in front of you or that situation. Recollect all their kindness and wisdom and tell them all the reasons that you're grateful for them. Notice how that makes your body feel. Notice your physical sensations. Notice your emotions, your thoughts attached to this person, this situation. Okay, next exercise. Someone or something that you dislike. Even if you don't have the time or inclination to sit and meditate, what I'm asking you to do is to reflect on a gratitude pause for an extra moment to notice how gratitude feels, to be conscious of it, even with someone or something that you dislike. Can you think of things that you are grateful for with regard to this situation or this person that you would rather not have in your life? How does that feel? How is it different? So no matter where we are in life, no matter how your week or America's week has gone, you can always find someone or something to be grateful for. All you need to do is pay attention, that is, practice mindfulness of the opportunities that the situation or person is offering. That's how easy it is to cultivate gratitude. I would encourage you to let that sense of gratitude fill you up and buoy you, especially when things feel difficult. And let it touch other people, which is why I think the social media exercise is so inspiring, that it's a practice of both giving and receiving. It starts with you, it feels good, it's encouraging, but then the best part is it can spread. You shower the world with grace. We are conscious agents of our reality. It's a conversation. The reality isn't happening to us. And grace remains abstract until it is given a human face, a specific face. When you're living in gratitude, you are grace in action. You're moving through the world as gratitude, as grace, as God on earth. I thought this would be a useful exercise, especially now, when there does seem to be so much potential negativity, just in the news or, again, in social media. The uncertainty breeds the potential for negativity. So I propose this as a way to combat that. The terrorist attacks, for instance, over the past year, and the potential for terrorist attacks, the uncertainty over political future, for many people have led to fear winning out over trust and courage and possibility. Whether it's in America or in Europe or in it seems every continent in the world, there's the uncertainty, for instance, over our political future. To come back to Uganda, just to tie this up, I am deeply grateful for the right to vote and to feel like my vote counts. As I watch deep mistrust of our own political system, I am reminded of my friends in Uganda that had a presidential election last year. Their elections are typically regarded as a sham, as a sort of shadow play to give people the impression that they have a choice, when actually it's a foregone conclusion that the same president that has been ruling for 33 years will be elected again for another term. Messages I received from friends in Uganda that week described highways closed down by military convoys, day-long lines of people at the voting booths, people being harassed by military at the lines while they were waiting, and black helicopters patrolling the neighborhoods, soldiers threatening civilians. As grim and as often unpleasant as our elections seemed to be this past year, we choose them over what it appears the Ugandans were offered, the illusion of choice, but no choice at all. However, the Ugandans did give me one strong positive lesson while I was there. In Uganda, there is no dominant tribe or language or culture or religion. Muslims and Christians, for instance, live in peace together as friends. And people from 50 different tribes with 50 different languages manage somehow to coexist together in peace in a very crowded country, one of the densest populations of any country in the world. And I would suggest that this is an example of how we and the rest of the world could stand to learn and to be inspired right now. Our political life in this country ultimately is a contest between partial truths and legitimate contesting interests. Lots of good ideas, all valid, competing with each other. Now, the goal of our journey as a society is to find a just balance between these competing values and goals, find a middle path, a compromise. I'm suggesting that we practice gratitude for the challenges that we are faced with today, politically, socially, economically. We can be grateful for the opportunity to envision together and to build together a brighter day. We may not all agree on what that looks like, but the opportunity is there. We have that gift of a society that appears to have the right to choose, and people have a right to say what they think about how that future may look like. We get to practice our spiritual principles in each moment. Our spiritual principles are brought to bear in those moments of political and social upheaval. We can be grateful for the work to be done, or for the opportunity to join together in insisting on social and economic justice, to ride out this wave of fear together and work together to create a clear, powerful, collective vision of a peaceful world. Thank you.